Right, so other speakers are going to introduce themselves, and then we're just going to introduce one or two of the federations that are here, and then we'll take it from there.
Trying to pass it down.
Swap mics. Oh, right. Okay. They're just going to introduce themselves, who they are, where they're from, okay? Yeah, come through.
Okay. Hi, I'm Hasina. I'm the mobilization officer for Africans Rising. And African Rising has the Kilimanjaro Declaration, which unites us in Africa. It says that we stand in solidarity with our brothers and sisters in Africa when they face their struggles. We have noticed that the first voices of solidarity are usually from outside Africa when there are problems in Africa. Africans Rising is working together with all Africans to write a new narrative for Africa in this respect. The new narrative will be written for us, and by us. The Kilimanjaro Declaration, which you all have copies of, clearly states that we want better and accountable governance of Africa. Africans Rising is pleased to be part of the struggles of South Africans in the quest for good governance.
Thank you. Thanks, Cecilia.
My name is Peggy Pillay, and I'm from a group of activists called Johannesburg Against Injustice. Essentially, J, the acronym for Johannesburg Against Injustice, is a group of former political, civic, and youth activists. And we were part of the broad liberation movement in the 70s and the 80s. And last year, we came out to try and define a role for ourselves in this re-emergence of a progressive civil society movement. Today we're here to lend our voices to this call that is being heard around the country for the president to step down. We're saying Zuma must go, and he must go today.
Thank you.
My name is Ben Theron from OUTA, Organization Undoing Tax Abuse. There are 55 million South Africans. Each and every one is affected. We're asking each and every one of you to join us in some shape or form. But if you are in Gauteng, please come to Church Square so that we can join hands and march to the Union Building to show that enough is enough. We have to take our freedom back. Thank you.
My name is Sharon Ikamarum. I work for an organization called Lawyers for Human Rights. Lawyers for Human Rights has endorsed and is part of one of the many organizations and civic movements supporting this march today. The march on Friday. Lawyers for Human Rights has been around for over 37 years, been involved in campaigning against the death penalty, and more recently, we have seen the complete collapse of the asylum process in this country. The most vulnerable people in our country, refugees, asylum seekers, we can bear testimony to what the leadership of Malusi Gigaba in the Department of Home Affairs has left, what systems he put in place or didn't put in place, the state of Marabastad. And so we're here to call for solidarity. Solidarity with vulnerable people in our country who are suffering because our democracy is not working. Something's not right. And the obstacle to social mobilization, to this, what we are calling for, is the start of building solidarity in this way, is that Zuma is the obstacle and Zuma must go. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Elias Mukhobru from an organization called Forum for Service Delivery. We are here, we've been here since Monday morning, and we are here to pledge our support to Save South Africa, since we are all South Africans. We are an organization that cares about the service delivery of our people, so of which the government of Jacob Zuma is not doing that. Hence, we are here today. So we're going to be here. We've been here since Monday, sleeping here, waking up here, doing everything here. We camped here and we're gonna camp here. This is not gonna end on Friday through the march, or from the march. It's gonna be from here or from now until the president resigns or the president leaves our office and our money as the citizens of this country. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Kotatsola Mahotswa, the president of Progressive Student Movement, which is a learners organization. We are supporting this call because of we are a reflection of the future and we are the future generation. So we need to protect the future. We can't let intellectual thugs who are elected in our office to do whatsoever they want. As an organization of learners in this country, we have seen that Zuma has failed because of when we check the educational system of this country, he has no trust in it. You will never get his grandchild in a public school. So we're supporting this call because of there's nothing that Zuma has done which is good in South Africa. And as a learners organization, we're saying that we're supporting this march and we'll be there on Friday, massively so, to make sure that we inject the thug out of our offices.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Mark Haywood. I'm here really speaking on behalf of 3 organizations that are actively supporting and mobilizing for this march. The first is the Treatment Action Campaign. I'm a member of the National Office Bearers of the Treatment Action Campaign. The second is Section 27, should be known to you, and the third organization is Save South Africa. I want to make a few comments on why the march is important to me and the organizations that I represent, but I also want to just add a little bit to what Themba told you about the logistics and the details of the plans for the march. The first thing that I want to make absolutely clear is that this will be a peaceful march, a completely peaceful march. Nobody should feel afraid to join this march. We encourage young people to join this march. We encourage people to come with children. We encourage disabled people to join the march. We encourage all concerned South Africans who can get to Church Square on Friday to come and show their concern on this protest. It will be peaceful. We will make sure it is peaceful by policing and monitoring our own march to that effect. The second thing I want to say is that this is a legal march. I spent 2 hours yesterday with more than 20 members of police from different departments, different units of the Tshwane Police Department, including the Chief of Police. We have gone through in minute detail the plans for the march. I will be leaving here to go back to the police department to provide further detail and to make sure that the preparations for the march are complete. It is a legal march. Just to add again a little bit to Themba, we are collaborating on this march with a whole number of organizations. I will mention some more in a minute. One of them is the South African Communist Party. South African Communist Party has its own march to Church Square on Friday from Marabastad to the Treasury to hand over a memorandum to the Treasury to defend the Treasury. They will be arriving in this square at 10:30 on Friday morning, and their members will then join and merge with the big march that will go to the union buildings. I'd also like to report to you indications of support that we have had, other indications. FEDUSA, one of the 3 big trade union federations in South Africa, is supporting the march and is encouraging its members to participate. We will be particularly making an appeal to public servants to join the march, to take Friday afternoon off to join this march. Many of them are members of an organization called the Public Servants Association.
We're requesting business as well.
We are in discussions with business organizations across the country who are supportive of this march, and we are asking the business organizations to not penalize anybody who wishes to leave work early to join the march. And they are in agreement and will make a commitment that any patriotic South African who decides to stand up and exercise their right to protest will not be penalized for that by any employer. We were very pleased yesterday when the National Religious Leaders Forum, which is the forum of the religious leaders of all faiths in South Africa, issued a statement, 1, to say that President Zuma must resign, but 2, in their statement they called on people from all faiths to join the march. We expect to be led by religious leaders, again emphasizing the peaceful and the moral character of this march. And finally, we are in discussion with university. Well, not finally, we're in many discussions, but just to say that we are in discussion with universities, with Wits University, with University of Johannesburg, with University of Pretoria. We expect to see them here on the march, and with the foundations. I attended a meeting last night with the Kathrada Foundation. The Kathrada Foundation is 4 square behind this march. So I think what you can see is that this is a people's march. As my friend Temba said, not a political party's march. People from political parties of all persuasions will be on the march. But this is a people's march to show the people's anger and the people's determination to reinforce the demand that President Jacob Zuma is not fit to be the president of this country, that he is a man who is corrupt and has been corrupted, that he is a man who is answerable to criminal and other networks, but not to the Constitution and to the people of South Africa. We will not realize the dream of equality, the vision of this country, with a president like President Zuma. In fact, we will go further and further away from that dream of equality. We will go to a country with worse schools, if that is possible, worse hospitals and clinics, higher unemployment, greater problems with access to clean water and sanitation. If we want to stop that, we have to stop state capture. We have to stop the capture of the Treasury and of other institutions by an unelected, unanswerable, often faceless elite. The last thing I want to say is, some people say to me, why am I here? I work for an organization called Section 27. What has this got to do with my business as a social justice activist? And the answer to that is it has everything to do with our business as social justice activists. Later this year, my organization, Section 27, will represent the family members of a little boy called Michael Komape, who you will remember, who drowned in a pit toilet 2 years ago in his school in Shebeng village in Limpopo at the tender age of 6 years old. What has the death of Michael Komape got to do with President Zuma and state capture? Well, actually, it's got everything to do with President Zuma and state capture. Because one of the problems of the Limpopo Education Department, which were uncovered when we had to go in to deal with the textbooks crisis, was that that year, in 2012, 2.5 billion rand went missing from the Limpopo Education Department. 2.5 billion rand was stolen from the poorest learners in this country and put into rich hands of tenderpreneurs, of politically connected people, nobody has paid, nobody has been accountable, nobody is in prison. Many of those people remain in positions of political influence. If you want that to continue, then don't protest. If you want to challenge that, and if you want to restore hope and decency and dignity and opportunity and equality, in particular to the poor and the most vulnerable people in this country, if you want a chance for your children in this country, if you believe in your own integrity in this country, if you want to prevent this country from becoming a failed state, a fragmented state, a country that is at war with each other, a country where political criminals are killing other people, then stay at home on Friday. But if you want equality, if you want dignity, if you want an accountable president, join us on a peaceful, dignified mass march to call for the removal of President Zuma and to call on our members of the National Assembly to find their consciences, to find their integrity, and to use the vote of no confidence, which undoubtedly will be coming, to vote out a corrupt president and a corrupted cabinet. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mark. Guys, I just want to stress again that this is going to be a peaceful march, and it is a legal march, and it is a march of all South Africans. So irrespective of color, political persuasion, creed, wherever you come from, as long as you're a South African and you are tired of the status quo, you are urged to please come through to Church Square on Friday at 10 a.m. We will be gathering here, and there will be order, and we will together march to the union buildings to demand that Jacob Zuma resigns, and resigns with immediate effect. We are pleading to all businesses in and around the Pretoria area especially to allow their people to come through and join the march there. They should not be penalized for that. It is a growing mass action, and it will continue until Jacob Zuma resigns. As you see, you guys are sitting under a tent right now, and this has been up since Monday, and numbers have been swelling on a daily basis, and people have been coming over here, sleeping here, sitting here, debating with one another with regards to the way forward of this country. And that's what we want to see, is more citizens coming out and actually taking action and talking about their democracy and taking it back from a few elite that actually run this government from Shabin somewhere in Saxon world, which is still yet to be figured out where it is exactly. It's clearly not in Parliament. And we are pleading to every single patriot, come out on Friday. On the 7th, it must be a day to remember for all of us that citizens, patriots stood up and actually were counted and actually made a difference. If we could defeat apartheid standing together, surely Zuma is not an obstacle here. We can definitely come together and make this happen. So don't sit in Twitter sphere and supporting us from afar. Please make an effort to be here. And if you can't make it, wherever you are, make sure that you are protesting and your voice is being heard. And let Zuma know that he's no longer welcome in the union buildings. He should be in prison where he belongs. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Themba. I'm just going to take questions. If you can indicate which media institution you're from and your question, you would like the question answered by. We do have a mic.
Yeah. We got one there.
We got one there. Great. There's one of our comrades with a microphone.
ANN7 first, please.
Lorenzo.
Good afternoon, it's Laranza from EMCA. I'm just wondering about the numbers. I know that especially you, sir, when I was here Monday, you've always mentioned that it's not about the numbers, it's about the message that you want to put across. I mean, you've called out on business, on public service and so forth to come forward and show the support. How many people do you think will actually heed this call? And secondly, please, can you just maybe give us some comments about the latest with regards to the ANC's decision to basically, you know, not necessarily do what we thought they would do, or what everyone thought they would do, which is act on the president. What's your response to that as well?
All right. Thanks a lot.
Let's take a few questions first.
Take two more.
Paraka from Jack Rand FM. Lorenzo actually took one of the questions. I also wanted to know about the numbers. And then you quite specifically said, you know, for South Africans. Obviously, we have foreign nationals that live in this country that are affected by parliamentary and governmental decisions. So can you maybe speak to that? Are they welcome? Should that join you? Thanks.
How many more?
You done? You have a question? No? Okay. Let's say who you wanted to answer. Mark, Temba, between the two of you?
All right, yeah, with regards to the ANC, well, it's a bit, with regards to the ANC, it is a bit difficult to recover from, you know, spineless surgery. We were expecting that. And unfortunately, now we know the real reason, apparently, that the president and the former finance minister had a working relationship that was not good enough for the president to work with him, so he decided to fire him. It's no longer about the report that was drawn up somewhere in the dark and they were not happy about. So it seems that they've accepted that, and I guess the whole country was expecting the ANC not to go with that. In terms of numbers, a lot of South Africans are going to be here. I urge you personally to also be here, and maybe do a head count with me if that would be possible. But we're looking at thousands to be here, and we're looking for a lot more. We should be getting reports from the different organizers in the different areas, in the different townships, to give us concrete numbers later on tonight. But definitely we will be having thousands of people standing with us. And yeah, Mark, you want to take the one with regards to no SANs?
Let's be absolutely clear. I want to deal with both questions, but let's be absolutely clear. We do not discriminate. Our appeal is to all people in South Africa to join this march, not only to South African people. As Sharon from LHR said, some of the people who are most vulnerable and being most exploited through corruption are people who are undocumented migrants, foreign nationals. And we wouldn't just say that you are welcome, we would say, please come. Please bring the banner of the Africa Diaspora Forum. Please bring other banners. You are absolutely welcome. South Africa belongs to all who live in it. That is our mantra, and that is the basis for the march. On the question of numbers, the answer is really dependent upon the people who will listen or watch EMCA or radios or read the newspapers. Each South African in the next couple of days is going to have to ask themselves a question, which is, where do I stand in relation to this? If you stand in opposition to this, the next question is, what do I do? If you know that there's a march in Pretoria, then do I join that march to try to swell the numbers? Because all we can do, Lerato, is hope that our appeal, that our mobilizing efforts will be heard, and hope that people do not feel intimidated or threatened to participate in this march, which is why I have stressed that this is a peaceful march, and we will guarantee that, and that this is a legal march. The last thing that I would say your question is in relation to the ANC press conference today. Personally, I feel terribly disappointed. I feel betrayed almost by what Mantash said. Many of us come from that movement. Many of us fought for that movement. And many of us still hope that the good people in the ANC will find courage and will overcome whatever it is that is making them fearful. Whether it is the offer of money, whether it is the threats of spilling the beans on things they may have been involved in. Now is the time to choose if you are an ANC leader. Now is the time not to give us hope as a country by showing that there were some good people who stood up to this and then dashing our hopes by making an apology. This is a time for principle and a time for integrity. And what we say as the marchers, as the civil society organizations, that's why we say we the people. One thing we are not going to do anymore is put blind faith in any politician or any member of parliament, because all of them have a habit of letting us down. And it's time that the people took control over their politicians again, of whatever party, and it's time that the people made it clear what they want their politicians to do in the midst of this particular crisis. So I hope that answers you. That's not a Save South Africa position. We're here as individuals from individual organizations. That is my response to your question as a South African and as a social justice activist.
And I think also, just to stress on what Mark is saying there, is that we'd like to urge, especially leadership within the ruling party, the ones that are forward-thinking, the ones that are progressive, and who want to see a return of true democracy back in the governing party, to actually come out and stand with us in solidarity with us, and actually come out here on Friday and speak to say, listen, I am a leader of the governing party, and I'm here to say I am with you, I'm in support of this, and I want to be a part of a South Africa that is going forward again. It's very difficult for us as civil people to actually have faith in the political organizations again. As Mark was saying, that we come from there, and it was a political home for many of us, but really the disappointment is very strong at the moment on our side. Yeah. Just a few words.
So I just want to extend a bit on the question of whether refugees, migrants, asylum seekers are allowed to march with us on Friday, and I think Mark has responded about the fact that this is about all who live in South Africa. I just want to elaborate a bit about what our experiences as lawyers for human rights, and it's part of this bigger problem in our country of corruption that is eroding in many departments, and the people that suffer is the poorest and the most vulnerable. We issued a report last year called Cure Here for Corruption, and I'm glad that Corruption Watch is here, also part of this march. And there's been many efforts to expose the extent of corruption at the Department of Home Affairs, particularly with respect to asylum seekers and refugees attempting to get documented. There's a lot of myths, there's a lot of political leaders that use migrants and refugees for scapegoating, and these are all the reasons why we all need to stand up and ensure that there is accountability, that there is transparency in our country, and ensure that the dream that we all fought for, equality, is what we're going to achieve in our lifetime. So I just wanted to elaborate and say to the person from Jacaranda, please convey that message, that this is about solidarity and addressing social inequalities in our country to end corruption, dealing with the serious problem of corruption.
Thanks, Sharon. Just from a logistical point of view, just to ask the journalists present to make sure you put your phone numbers and email addresses on the list that's going around. Cabo at the back with a black and white vest on has the list. We'll send out this afternoon a list of all the organizations that have expressed an interest. We'll update it over the next day or so as well, and then we'll give you the key points that have come from today's announcement. Are there any other questions? Yes, sir.
My name is Sipo Mabelo from the Times Newspaper. Just two quick questions. If you could just give us the details of your funding base, who is making this movement and campaign financially possible? And secondly, government has repeatedly warned that civil disobedience will be met with the full might of the law. What do you make of this statement? Thank you.
Thank you. Lorenz? Yeah.
What is that funding?
From what Mark was saying with regards to individuals, you know, he did mention, he's not here, where is he? I'm not sure. But he did mention the fact that, you know, you're relying on the vote of no confidence really to also assist in terms of remove the precedent. But, you know, the latest from the Tuli House is that Content is saying no MP is actually going to vote with this. What's your take on that? Thanks.
My name is Katla Mkwana from UJF. We held a debate on this march just yesterday, and the prevailing theme was that this is an elitist program, that poor people that have been living junk life for the past however many years.
It's immediate.
There was never anger on their junk life. So the elitist people have, this excitement was triggered by the possibilities of the elitists maybe having their life disrupted. How do you send a message to people, especially poor people who are majority in this country, that this is not an elitist program, that they must take their last 10 rands and take a taxi from social movement to here instead of buying bread to come march here, because you are marching for their interest, you are not marching for your own personal interest of bonds and cars that they do not have. Thank you.
I think, Elias, maybe we should ask you to address the last question and do some of the others, whether you're an elitist in a Maserati or not.
I really wish.
Good afternoon again. I would like to respond to the question of my Katla from UJ. I come from an organization of the poor of the poorest. That I'm a leader of that organization. I'm the founder of the organization, Forum for Service Delivery. We started it from nothing with poor people. So I represent the poor of the poorest in this country. I represent the people who are really marginalized by the economy or by the system of this country. So we see a need, and we see it's important. I'm here because they sent me here to pledge their support, and they'll be coming here on Friday. All our members from 5 provinces that we are represented. The poor of the poorest, my good men. So this is not about the elite. You know, there's this thing of white monopoly capital that these guys are fooling, or these pictures, or these ruling party pictures are fooling our people with. There's nothing like that in South Africa. There's nothing like a white monopoly thing, or this thing they call it. Some of us, we don't even know what's the meaning of that white monopoly thing. But they keep on saying this is a representative of white monopoly capital, white monopoly capital. But they don't unpack what is a white monopoly capital. If they can unpack that to our people and go back and read our people their rights and take those little books of constitution and redistribute them to the people back in the villages like they did in 94 and 96, then our people will know what white monopoly capital is. Ladies and gentlemen, South Africans, let's not be fooled by these guys. I represent the people who are really desperate. My organization, we take money from our councillors. We have 30 councillors in the Northwest. We take 15% of their salaries to buy shoes for kids who go to school without shoes. And our governments are there. Our ANC councillors are there. The municipalities are there. They are not doing anything. We are doing that. So there's nothing like that. Let's stop this thing of white monopoly thing or this for the elitist. No, there's nothing like that. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Thank you.
Greetings again. I'm from Progressive Student Movement, as I have outlined. We are leading learners who are poor, learners from public schools, learners who walk 8 kilometers to school, learners who are still subjected to feeding scheme, learners who eat that stinky thin fish. So this is not an elite march, but then it's a march of the people. It's a genuine call of this country to save this country from the so-called corruption. Because of JZ has been doing corruption and nobody was saying anything. Now we have managed to unite ourselves as South Africans to say that we're going to fight against corruption with everything that we have. And remember, as citizens, we must remember that we're having power. We are the ones who are electing those thugs into office. So when they're not doing what we want, we must equally eject them out of those offices, which are our public offices. So there is no elite thing here. What's here is people who are worried, people who have been facing real challenges in their lives, and they're fed up with the corruption nonsense.
Thank you. Awesome. Right. The issue with regards to funding, it's definitely donations from everyday South Africans, people who are concerned with regards to what's happening in the country, and it is individuals from every single walk of life who actually put up their hard-earned money to put it here. There isn't some secret bank from Dubai that is actually bringing us money to run this. Some of these things that you're seeing here and the organizing that's happening is actually coming from people's personal pockets. And so it is definitely a myth that there is some rich white man in Stellenbosch somewhere that is assisting us with funds. And my brother, just to get back to your question is, I personally myself come from a township called Mamelodi, it's just in the east here, and we came through with a lot of concerned citizens from Mamelodi who came by bus, by taxi, by train to be here. As you can look around, these are common people that are here, people who are actually feeling the pinch of the current struggle, which is financial as well. Jacob Zuma doesn't even know which side of his car, his petrol tank is on. So if you talk about elitists, you should ask a question there. And so we are the ones who face bread and butter issue is on a daily basis. And so we want to urge every single South African to say, be here on the 7th at 10 a.m. 12 o'clock, we're marching to the union buildings, and let's get this crony out and out now.
Were the questions we didn't answer? So Mark has to leave in about 2 minutes, so we just want to give him a quick
we're going to wrap up as well.
And then we're going to...
I have to go to meet the police, so I'm leaving, but I just want to deal with this question of funding and donations.
There was another, sorry Mark, before you go on to the ANC issue, okay, that's fine.
Well, first of all, Save South Africa doesn't even have a bank account. We're dependent on a day-to-day basis with people making contributions. We are appealing to people to make financial contributions on a day-to-day basis. From some people we are getting 1,000 rand, from some people we're getting 20,000 rand. In a few lucky cases we're getting 50,000 rand. Some people are giving to this movement in kind. So if you look at those toilets over there, those toilets have been donated for our use for this week. The story of those toilets is that a man came here after hearing an interview on 702 on Monday and said, I can't be with you on your demonstration, but I can give you toilets. And he provided the toilets. Wherever we are using things like these tents and marquees, we're doing everything possible to negotiate a price down or to ask for it to be provided pro bono. When we march on Friday, we will be able to assure the public that will have medical services on standby which are being provided to us free. So it's little and big. I can tell you that on Monday night, I bought McDonald's for 25 of us who were camping here the first night. That's the way we're doing it. Take out of your pocket. Somebody who can take a little, somebody who can take a lot. That's the way we are going to build this movement. And that's how it's being done. Last thing, just on the route for Friday, when the march leaves here, it will go out of Paul Kruger Street, just so you know. It will turn immediately right into Madiba, what used to be Vermeulen Street, and it will simply go straight down Madiba, no turn off, all the way to the south lawns of the Union buildings, and we will then gather at the south. The march will end on the south lawns of the Union buildings. A straightforward, simple, safe march with the support of the police. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Maybe a final comment from Peggy.
I just wanted to address the issue of civil disobedience. I think it's important, given that the commentary is already out in the public domain. So here's our response. First and foremost, protesting, peaceful protest is a constitutional right of every South African. Secondly, mass mobilization, taking to the streets in a peaceful way, has been with us for centuries. It has been the one means that citizens the world over have had to actually exert pressure on governments. And why be disingenuous at this time when we have a democratic government? It was the modus operandi of the liberation movement, the ANC, and the mass democratic movement. So why this disingenuousness at this point in time? I think it's important to know that there's real public outrage and anger, and citizens are going to use whatever means they have at their disposal to have their voices heard. So peaceful civil disobedience is our right. We will take to the streets, and we urge and ask every citizen, everybody living in South Africa, to join us in having their voices heard about the absolute atrocities that are being committed in the name of democracy, in the name of poor people, etc. Thank you.
Thanks. Peggy, Miranzi, did we deal with all your questions?
No.
Just repeat.
I can't remember which.
It was about...
Was it with regards to... Do you remember your question?
The Parliament as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Ah.
Individuals, how you are relying on the no confidence vote, but then at the same time, you know, if the ANC is saying that no MP is going to vote against you. That's my comment or my
Someone's
question.
phone is ringing.
Sounds like a cat.
Okay, so, you know, I think as Mark pointed out, and we have amongst us a number of activists from the Treatment Action Campaign. So while we were all hoping, as all of us have been part of this liberation movement, we were hoping that the ANC MPs in Parliament would do the right thing and would vote with their conscience. But clearly, as you said, that's you know, being dashed. But what this movement is about is more than just sitting and hoping that there's going to be a vote of no confidence. That is why we are mobilizing. We've learned, we've been part of the power of social mobilization as demonstrated by the Treatment Action Campaign in this democracy. We have witnessed in our lifetime that we can mobilize and use our constitution. Now that's the most powerful thing in this country. It's a transformative document meant to redress the evils of apartheid regime, and we will continue to use that. Many of us belong to organizations that have successfully used both mobilization and litigation in order to progressively realize the equality and the dream of respect, human dignity in this country, and we will continue to do that.
Awesome. And just to stress on that, that being said, we do urge and still plead with all members of Parliament to really vote with their conscience and not with their stomachs, and we're really hoping for the miraculous here, that they'll do something right. But we are pleading with them to
Well, a very good afternoon. We're about to bring you news today. I'm Alisha Jali, and that was, of course, the media briefing by the various organizations that have come together under the banner to organize various marches across the country to try, of course, and force President Jacob Zuma to step down. That was, of course, the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation, Section 27, and Save South Africa, just amongst some of the top organizations that have come together to try and resonate in this message of bringing Zuma down. Well, the marches, they said, will be gathering at Chet Square, mainly to the union buildings across Johannesburg, and marches are also being planned for Cape Town and Johannesburg, as well as across the country. They did allude to the fact that they will be updating their various websites for more information as to when and how the marches will proceed throughout the day. Let's take a quick ad break. I'm back on top of the hour with news today.
Animation, virtual reality and games. We have all of that and other technology and social media news.
I've got the full version of the game at home, so I play it a lot at home.
We also tell you how Africans are using tech to improve their lives.
We have to close the digital gap.
So join us on Network for your African technology and social media news. That's Network with Ms. Phumelele Zondi every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Central African Time.
I'm Alisha Jali, joining us live from our Johannesburg studios. A quick look now at your current news leaders. Parliament's Communications Committee has decided on 5 names to sit on the SABC's interim board. And the Constitutional Court has directed Social Development Minister Bathabile Dlamini and her department to account for their handling of the social grants contract.
And in tennis, Serena Williams has withdrawn from the BNP Paribas Open in Indian Wells and the Miami Open due to a left knee injury.
We're expecting it to move just in the towards the southern parts of the country, not so much coming towards southern Africa, not even touching the Mozambique channel. It's just going to move back towards the Indian Ocean.
Stay tuned to News Today, Monday to Friday from 3 to 5:30 p.m. Thank you so much for tuning in to Media Monitor. I'm your host, Alisha Jali. What has been happening on the digital front?
To win the CAF Championship was a huge thing, and perhaps we ought to have celebrated him even more.
Absolutely.
73% of our schools, regardless whether they're in the township or they're in urban areas, if you go to those schools, you are guaranteed a matric pass.
It is the one thing that we haven't done well as a country. We have thrown money at it. I mean, if you ask for figures, you'll be told we're spending well in education.
90 billion.
But the performance of the system has not been good enough.
Water and sanitation underpin health, education, and livelihoods, yet hundreds of millions of people live without these basic human rights. In many countries around the world, taps, wells, and pipes simply don't exist, and even where they do, they are often not affordable to poor communities. Over 650 million people don't have access to safe drinking water. This is roughly 1 in 10 people of the world population. As you may have guessed, these are people living in developing countries. Even more shocking is that 2.3 billion people don't have access to adequate bathroom facilities. That translates to roughly 1 in 3 of the world's population. The consequences from this lack of proper sanitation leads to water pollution, increased vulnerability to diseases, and children missing numerous crucial schooling hours, amongst others. In many countries, children of schooling age spend countless hours walking unsafe routes to collect drinking water. And in most cases, the water is not even safe. About 860 children die every day from diarrhea caused by drinking unsafe, polluted water. SABC News, making you water-wise.
After a horrific accident, major questions were asked.
So step one, I asked myself, do I really want to die? And my answer to that was, I'm not sure. And then step two was, do I want my parents to bury me? And the answer to that was no.
Learning kept his brain in full action on how the brain works.
When I was in hospital, right, as I was saying, to catch up with my peers, I started to become obsessed with memory techniques and how the brain works and how we retain information.
Touching lives is his continuous mission.
I now work for a non-profit where we deal with access issues regarding kids with disabilities and persons with disability. We're busy working on beach access.
Being wheelchair-bound did not stop fun in his life.
I party in a wheelchair, I laugh in a wheelchair, I smile in a wheelchair.
For all your uplifting stories, catch Bupilong every Friday.